Most of us wish for good fortune in our business lives. We get what we want. Things flow in our favor. You might have a long streak of wins, but eventually, failure's going to find you. Especially when you're aiming at a worthy goal. Misfortune tags us and we fall down. You've seen a movie or read a book before, haven't you? This story is as old as time. Nothing new to report here. But what happens after you get knocked down? Now, that's what's juicy. Do you stay knocked down or do you get back up again? Are you like Rocky at the end of the fight when he's bloody, nose broken, eyes swelled shut, legs like jelly as he tries to get his bearings to stand up again to defeat Clubber Lang? Or do you say, hey ref, call the fight, I'm done? Nah, you're a fighter, I can tell. So join me as we learn to rise again after setbacks and keep going. And not just come back from a brutal defeat, but come back even better than before. Let's learn about rising again together in this episode of The Business of Being. This is The Business of Being, a podcast about the intersection of life and business, how the inner work of being prepares us for the outer work of doing and succeeding. I'm your host, Stephen Megling. My guest today is Jeanette Irving. Jeanette is the founder of Hope for Obesity, a pediatric obesity center that provides holistic and effective solutions to help kids lose weight and live healthy lives. Jeanette is also a successful realtor, entrepreneur, and one of the most resilient people I know. And stick around after our discussion. I want to introduce you to my expanders. Jeanette, welcome.
Thank you.
Your voice was a little quiet, but pretty soon the listeners are going to realize that is
not me. So not me, but good.
Excellent. Well, Jeanette, this topic is on the idea of rising again. This idea of things not working out for us in business or in life and how we rise again. Now, you have to understand, of all the people that I thought of for this topic, I thought of you first and only.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, because I've known you now, I think it's been 2 years.
I agree.
And 2 years is a long time during a pandemic.
This is true.
In dog years, it's about 30.
And you hung around.
And well, listeners, you'll see why in a minute. You always want to be near Miss Jeanette. Well, I thought of you because in that 2 years, as I think the case with everybody, I've witnessed you have business setbacks, things come up beyond your control, and I've watched you operate in those moments with focus, clarity, conviction. And I often think, Jeanette, you never learn anything about somebody when things are going well. You only see what's going on the inside when things aren't working out. And what I got to see from you is there's a lot working really, really cool inside of you. That's kind of the context for this conversation. So now, listeners, before we got started, Jeanette and I were catching up, and I always share with my guests a discussion guide, some sample questions of what we might cover. And the first one that I was going to ask was, tell me about a time that you got knocked down in business. But you had a different take on that.
Right. So, I as I said before, this was one of the questions that took me the longest to think about, right? And I had to be honest, have I ever really been knocked down? And I had to be honest with myself and said, no, I really have never been like knocked down. But have I been shaken? Have I been tossed back and forth? You know, the image in my head is like a palm tree, right? You know, that palm tree will, through the hardest storm, right? Through the toughest storm, it is knocked down. It is wavered back and forth. It's bent. It is bent down to the ground, but it's rarely or never uprooted and really knocked down or broken. And I don't feel that I've ever been like knocked down, but I've gone through some strong storms now. And it seems like simultaneously, like they all keep coming. And I'm like, all right, Lord, it's enough. I'm good now, So, but in the end of it all, I don't know if I've been knocked down. I don't think I allow myself to get to that point that I'm broken, And when I look at the word knocked down, it's like I'm broken.
So teach us a little bit.
He just gets right into it. Like, well, we don't even have a glass of water or wine. So, okay, what are we going at?
Because unlike you, yeah, I've been knocked down. I've been broken. That palm tree's snapped in half.
Oh, geez. I don't know if I allow my mental or physical self to get to a point if I had to be honest, Stephen, it's around that control, right? To let go to that point that I'm broken or I'm knocked down. Because I feel like if I'm down there, right, it's hell and high water to get back up. And I don't know if I'm vulnerable, but I don't know if I could ever, because I'm type A to a fault, right? And at the end of it all, I'm going to catch your BS eventually, right? I'm going to catch it. I'm trying not to cuss, okay? So I'm going to catch it. And once I catch it, I know how to deal with you at that point. And I know how to manage my expectations of you. So no, you can't break me. You can't. I won't let you.
Well, I'm going to continue pulling on that thread.
That's okay.
So where did that come from? Where did that spirit of I won't let you break me?
The only thing I can think about, and I really took these questions serious because I was like reluctantly happy to be here to do this just because it's you. And, I have my own little anxiety issues about the speaking stuff. But if I had to say, Stephen, I think it's the roots of where I came from in southern Mississippi, right? It wasn't flight, it was fight. You had to really understand who you are and fight for what you deserved and who you are just as a person. My kids and I, we always talk about Irving Strong, right? My license plates resonate that. Pretty much everything in my life just talks about how I'm built to win. I'm just built that way. And I could say that's Arthur Lee's. I'm his daughter. That's my dad. That's who reared me. I think I was supposed to have been the boy child, but I never was. So he got 3 girls. I was the last girl. So I was treated like that boy, like that strong willpower. And growing up in Mississippi in the 70s, now, that's a whole nother podcast, but we'll leave that one to me. So you had to have a sense of strength like no other. And you couldn't be wavered with what was in your path, right? I mean, the ladies, it's culture, right? It's also the roots in the culture of what you see. And I always knew, and again, I don't know, and I'm going to just say I'm going to thank God for it, right? Because he designed me, he built me, he put everything I need inside of me. He did that. And I tell anybody, if you got an issue with it, you got to go to your knees on that one because he did it. Go consult with God because I don't know what else to tell you, right? But I believe when I was very young, and I couldn't even spell the word entrepreneurship, right? And I knew that there was something greater in me. I knew it. And I didn't know what it was or how to get it there, or how to develop it, but over time, I did. And so if it came from that, I'll say it came from Arthur Lee, my dad, who was one of the strongest men I knew, So, and I'm going to say that's where it came from. That fight has always been in me. I'm not going to let you win. That just ain't in me. I'm not letting you win. Not within me, like my abilities.
Sure.
I'm not overly competitive. But when it comes to what I know that I know that I know, nah, you can't break me. The new Beyonce song was written for me. You didn't know that? No, I'm just lying. You can't break my soul. You can't break me. It's just not there.
So earlier you used a metaphor of the palm tree.
Mm-hmm.
swaying,
Mhm.
hurricanes, and yet it bounces back. So when we think about the palm tree as a metaphor for our lives and rising again, setbacks,
Mm-hmm.
most people think of the palm tree just from what they can see.
Mm-hmm.
They can see the top, they can see the trunk and swaying, moving.
Mm-hmm. It's the roots. It's the roots that ground that tree. And if you don't have that, it's hard. Not that you can't develop it, but it's hard. It's the roots that it's hard to pull up a palm tree once it's really rooted.
Yeah. And so you are aware of your roots. You are aware of the strength from within and where that lineage comes from.
But it took me years to get here. It's taken me years to understand it. I'm really just a simple girl, right? I don't have all these big accolades behind me. This is just lived life. And what I'm choosing to say is mine, and what others try to put on me, and I'm like, no, that ain't really me. That's, you can keep that one. But I'm vulnerable enough to also seek out wisdom, right? To like, if I hear, and I got this little thing, I operate in threes a lot, right? So if I hear someone say to me, 3 people, 3 different times, the same thing, that I make them feel a certain way, or, I think lately they've been saying I'm very short, I'm coming up. And I said, Carol, because I ain't got time, But I look at that and say, is that is that the image, or is that the energy I'm putting out there that I'm very short, right? If 3 different people that don't know each other are saying the same thing to me, you got to check you. So those roots, and again, it took me a long time to get there, to understand and really learn Jeanette. Who is this chick? What is she like? Who is she? What is she like or dislike? What are the things that she desire? And be okay with that, and the hell with the rest.
There you go. So digging deep, looking within.
Mm-hmm.
If the roots that a person has aren't deep enough to hold on to weather that storm the way we would want, your advice to the person would be?
I said surround yourself around roots, right? Surround yourself around people who has those kind of roots, but you got to be ready and prepared to take that, right? We laugh and we talk about, I only have like 2.5 friends. And they say, where's the half one? That's because she's always on the edge, right? I surround myself, like when I was struggling in business and I knew I needed something, I didn't know how to truly articulate it. But I said to you when I first met you, let me tell you how I feel. Let me tell you what I'm going through. And then you see if this is something you can help me with. Let me put it out of my head the way that I see it. And then, of course, Stephen gives you a book, right? I'm like, what the hell? But, okay, I took the book, But I loved the book because the book was everything I needed to build that infrastructure that I had longed for and I needed. So if you have roots, but they're not that deep and you're not that person, then you have to surround yourself with those roots. But you got to be prepared, because people like Jeanette, the roots of me, I'm going to tell you, but you're going to know it's coming from a good place. It's not to hurt you. I'm going to tell you, look. Right? Look, there it is. There
she says, look, you better, you better stare. You better stare.
It's like, look, get up. I'm calling you this weekend. We're getting up. We're going out. We're going to do this. We're not going to sit here and wallow, right? Let's do that. So you got to get roots around you to pull you up until your roots get strong enough to fight on your own. Yeah.
I love what you said about being vulnerable enough to seek wisdom. Yeah.
You have to be. I don't care. I'm a real estate broker, right? I also run 2 additional businesses. I'm the CEO of a pediatric obesity program, and I do the nonprofit side. That don't mean jack. Don't mean nothing. I still don't know what I don't know. So when I don't know and I don't understand it, I am never that proud, ever. And again, you have to get to that point. I'm never that proud to reach out and say, I'm not understanding this. My CPA, I hired her for 6 months because my mentor told me, if you don't know your numbers, you don't know your business. And I didn't know my numbers. I needed to understand that. And I was, okay, I don't know him. So now guess what? I got to figure it out, right? So I hired her for 6 months to walk me through, teach me what I need to know. And how do I understand these numbers to make better business decisions? So if you're too proud to ask for that, then again, 2.5 friends. So, but you just got to be vulnerable enough to be able to reach for that help. And that's just in business, but that's also in personal, right? You know my story. You know, it looked like I was dodging grenades for the last 4 or 5 months, you know, going through a divorce. My daughter got caught up with some craziness and having to fight for her life. And, you know, and then the business wasn't going nowhere. I mean, it was like these grenades was, I was shaking. I was waving. I was like, I couldn't even be on the phone with you without crying, you know. And then but I reached and I shared and I talked about it. But I wasn't vulnerable just to anybody. Don't blow Joe on the street now. Like, look, you don't know my business. But, you know, I would be that girl to say, hey, and the tribe I have in my circle, that's that tribe. And that's why I said put people around you. My roots was probably weak around that time, right? So I had this tribe, and I did round robin. If Dr. D didn't pick up, Dr. Pope had somebody was gonna talk to me. And I would do that. I would call around. I would just call till somebody picked up that phone and got me off the ledge. But you got to be vulnerable enough to seek that wisdom and seek that help, right? That's in personal, but in business too.
Wow. By the way, just a quick aside. So Jeanette, you talked about knowing your numbers and you hired the CPA to coach you through it. One of the things that's always impressed me, because I've been in front of you, watching you as you work with the team at the obesity clinic, you know your numbers, like to a fault, in a great way. Yeah, you embody that. You embody that.
But I had to be honest that I didn't know them. You can't just fake it till you make it. Not when you're in that seat of leadership, right? And not management, because I suck at that, but leadership. You cannot just fake it till you make it. You need to be vulnerable enough to say it and know it, and then don't just sit there, seek the wisdom. Right? And I did. I told her, I said, you're going to have to help me. I tell you the same thing. Look, you're going to have to help me. Help me, Stephen. You know, I'm just not that proud. And my ego is just not that big to seek the help. Because you got to think it's not just you. I serve some amazing children. And I take that personal, right? That's my responsibility to stay open so that they have a safe place to come, you know? So it's not just about me.
So I keep going back to the palm tree because I think it's such a great metaphor, great visual metaphor. I think so many of us only see the top, only see the bending. You've established, no, it's look at the roots, be vulnerable enough to seek the wisdom of others who can help you get your roots deeper. And I'm hearing in your talk here, there's this thing about vulnerability that is really mysterious to me, because in order to be strong and resilient, you've got to be vulnerable. It just seems like it's a contrast, and yet that seems to be how it works.
And let me go back to what you said. You said, Jeanette, you know what? I've been knocked down, right? That palm tree snapped in half, right? It snapped, but did it uproot? Did it come from the root, or did it snap in half? Did the roots come up? No, it didn't. That tree may have snapped, but the roots of that tree stayed planted. I don't know. I mean, I think ego plays a role in some things, but listen, you and Morgan, I'll be at the dinner table. If I'm hungry, somebody gonna feed me. You know, I'm just not that proud to say, oh, what time dinner? You know, what y'all doing tonight? You know, no, I don't have that kind of ego, and I don't have that kind of pride. I just don't. I mean, what's the essence?
Well, and it seems as if you may also think or believe that it's not weak to ask for help.
No, absolutely no. And again, Stephen, I told you, I'm probably like the oddest person you will ever encounter, ever. I'm probably the oddest person you will ever encounter. I don't follow trends. I don't follow traditions. I don't follow none of these things. What crazy nonsense is that? What? No. I just don't get what the ego is all for. What's the having that kind of pride? What would that do for you? When you go into a building or you go into a meeting, you got this ego and you proud and da-da-da, and you know there's a burning question you need to ask, to learn, to understand, right? But you don't, because then that's going to make you look weak. Oh, he's the CEO or she's the CEO. She should have known. He should have known. What do you mean he's asking that? She's asking that. She should have known that, shouldn't she? Wouldn't she? No. And then you walk out just as dumb as you went in. Look, I'm the first one with my hand raised. Look. Well, what about this? Maybe it would matter if I cared about what people thought, what people perceive me or think of me. You either going to love me for me, you're going to either care for me. To get to know the authentic Jeanette, you 2.5 friends. That's all I can tell you. I just don't let it people in this circle much because it's a lot, right? It's a lot to deal with Jeanette, but it's a good lot.
It's a great lot.
Yeah.
It's a great lot.
If I had to say so. Right. But you got to take me in doses, and then I go hibernating and come back out. But it's good stuff.
So the vulnerability is a requirement. The roots are a requirement. Seeking wisdom is a requirement. And something that you've shared with me, I think, is also a requirement here, which is this sense that you have to dig deep. Meaning you might think, not you, Jeanette, but somebody else listening to this, they might think, hey, I'm not good enough, I'm not strong enough, I'm not capable enough, I'm in this hurricane moment. But if you dig deeper, you might find you are strong enough.
But I've been all those things. I felt like I didn't measure up. I felt like I wasn't good enough. And most important, like, how could I have gotten here? We talked about my story, right? A girl from Mississippi, right? You know, how did you get here? How did you get to this point? I felt everything that you just said. Everything. However, as we say, howsoever. Okay. However, the roots run deep. And again, if you don't have that inner strength, please put people around you that has it, that could be able to help you bring it out, right? And don't get yes people in your circle. I have people that call me on my shit all the time, right? It's like, yeah, I have people, I'm big on hanging up on folk. You know, like, okay, we're going to end this call because pretty much you ain't telling me what I want to hear, right? Like, we're going to end this call. I have a very good friend in Atlanta. I'm hanging up on her all the time, and she'll just text, okay, call you tomorrow, you know, type of thing. So you have to, don't put yes people in your circle. You put people who is going to help develop that core, you know, to help develop those roots in your soul, to be able to fight against anything that comes your way, or even at least stand and it don't break you, right? I teach my kids that, you know, and they could probably quote me because I didn't say it so much. It's like, put your back against the wall. If your back is against the wall, what can come behind you? Nothing. Nothing can come behind you. And you come out. Everything that's got to come in you, got to face you head on. It has to face you. It can't come behind you and you know, blindside you. It can't come. No, it has to face you head on, and you be ready for it. But this is really how I feel. You know that? This is how I live my day to day. You know, I feel insecure about certain things. I feel incompetent about a lot of things, more on the business side of things. I don't have an MBA. I don't have all these degrees behind my name. I'm a girl who want to survive, right? I love to eat, as he knows, Stephen knows. I love to eat. And so when I'm hungry, listen, if I'm hungry, I got to eat. I got to eat. And that's what keeps pushing me, you know, it's because I want to eat, you know. So, I mean, I felt everything that everybody has felt, even with all this, as people may think on the other end, all this confidence. It's not. I don't have that extra confidence, but I also just know who I am. I know who I am. And I know what I'm capable of doing if I was put in the right position to do it.
So I think I'm hearing you and I'm thinking out loud, Jeanette, that so many of us in business, with all these business books and all the gurus, they always talk about resilience.
Mm-hmm.
They always talk about, confidence. These are good terms, but they can be a little bit paper thin, because I think ultimately what I'm hearing from you that resonates even more than any of those concepts is getting really clear on who you are. Because when you know who you are, you're unstoppable.
And honestly, that's exactly what it says here. Who can stop me? Who can stop me? It literally says it in my notes. When you have that level of resilience and you know what your purpose is, and you know what you're really just designed to do. Everybody talk about, purpose-driven life and having a purpose and do this and how do I find my purpose? You know what you love. If you could get up, look, I fire myself every day at home, probably 10 times a day. I fire myself. But I also know this is what I am supposed to do. And I feel like that level of resilience, first of all, you just got to laugh at yourself. Because if you don't, you'll end up in, over at Tucker somewhere, it's in some rocking chair rocking. You have to laugh at yourself. What I don't know, and I'm okay with that. But somebody know it, because hell, I ain't the first one that invented it or thought of it. I just got to find the person that know it and teach it to me. So laughing at yourself, having that strength of resilience, that if you know this is what you is driven to do, your purpose to do it, do it. You're going to fall, you're going to get up, you're going to go down, it's going to not work out, figure it out, right? Look at it and say, what went wrong? What happened? How did I not get the outcome I was looking at, right? Laugh at yourself a few times and be like, oh, shit, I tried to do it. No, and then just seek the wisdom and do it, but keep pushing. If this is what you're supposed to do, whether it's real estate, photography, opening up a cafe, serving people, being a servant leader, if it's what you know that you're supposed to do, who the hell can stop you? Who can stop you?
I know somebody who can stop ourselves. Yeah,
true. And it does say that. The only person that can prevent you from reaching your goal is you. That's it. I'm just foolish enough to believe I can. I am. I just feel like I can be on top of the world if I wanted that. The only thing that stopped me from reaching that is Jeanette. Who else? Now, yes, does it take structure and strategic thinking and planning and all of those things? Absolutely. Don't just go out there foolishly, right? But if you know within your heart, this is where I want to be, put the plan in place and execute the plan. Putting the plan in place and not executing it ain't worth jack, right? But you got to execute that plan.
Yeah. Because I think that when we talk about knowing who you are, I think most people get caught up because they think who I am is the failure. Who I am is the screw up. Who I am is the person who doesn't have the pedigree, the MBA.
I ain't got none of that. So what? I ain't got none of that. And then what?
Yeah.
No, those are things. That's not you. Those are things that help you maybe get to where you need to be, having an MBA. But hell, that MBA, look at some of the people that's leading us. They got it all and still crazy as hell. So, it's just, no, it is who you are. You figuring out you. And I went through that. Trust me, this is a lot of work. Did therapy ever help me? I don't know if therapy helped. I think I just paid a lot of money. But anyway, but when you really say, okay, just be true to you. Just be truly, authentically true to who you are. The good, the bad, and the ugly. Right? I know my insecurities, right? Do I have them? Whole lots. Yes. However, I know them, but I accept them, right? I know where I struggle and I don't feel as confident. I know where my self-esteem is low. I know all of those things about Jeanette. And if you be true to that and then build and say, like, somebody was asking me, do you travel alone? Would you ever go somewhere by yourself? And that's been one of my struggles. I say no. I went to tea on the Browns Island or something like that. I was miserable. And I did the effort, because that's a weakness for me, like going by myself. I did the effort. I planned it out, went there, and I like, okay, well, it still don't feel good. It still doesn't feel like the best me. And I was like, well, hell, I'm not doing it no more. So I realized I don't like going places by myself, period. And I don't want to go places by myself. Now, will I travel but I know on the airplane, I'm, by myself. But when I get to my destination, I'm no longer alone. And that is just a fact about me. I'm not going to torture myself to try to get out of something I know it ain't good for me. I just don't like it. So people said, try it. Oh, just try it. I did. I didn't like it. So now what? But that's being your authentic you. It's just something I don't want to get used to I don't want to do it by myself.
Well, yeah. And I just, as we kind of bring closer to this, I think you just told a story about something at a personal level, like something you realize you just don't care to travel alone. Okay. But I hear the wisdom in this goes back to the roots, knowing who you are, looking at what's great, what's not great, what's a quirk, what's not a quirk, whatever, and just owning that and accepting that. And then, of course, for those things you want to change, that make sense to change, that are worth the energy, change. Mm-hmm. And the things that aren't worth it,
let it go. Let it be. And just accept those those are your quirks. Those are the things that you just, look, I'm going to hang on with this for a little while, I'm not looking to be delivered from that, and I'm okay with that. But again, anyone that's in my tribe or in my circle, you don't have to do it. You don't have to be a part of that. I know me enough to know I am not going to the movies by myself. And probably your listeners like, really? No. I'm not going to treat myself to dinner by myself. No. I'm going to find somebody that want to eat with me. Let's go. I just enjoy people. I love the energy from good people, right? And it helps me to be me, right? I'm not going to say I'm going to go and just sit there by myself. I'm miserable as hell. And I know that about me. So why should I put myself through that to prove a point?
Right.
To prove some point to who? To who? Me? I already know I don't like it. So no. And so I'm like, no, tried it, tested it out, still don't like it, won't be doing it again.
Right.
Done.
Right. Well, as we move to close, I just want to pause and just honor you for a moment. Listeners, I wish you could see her face. Oh, great. As I mentioned when we kicked off this conversation, I've seen you go through difficult work challenges, difficult life challenges. And I firmly believe you never know who a person is until they're faced with adversity. Mm-hmm. Then you really know what's going on. And what's going on with you is strength, perseverance, conviction. And what I heard today, which I'm so grateful for, is I also know you as somebody who will ask for help, who's not too proud, who understands I don't have to know everything. I just need to knock on doors. So I just want to honor you. You are the embodiment of this idea of rising and resilience. So thank you, Jeanette.
You're welcome. And thank you seriously for having me, even reluctantly doing it, because I know, again, another weakness, right, of mine. But because it is you, and because I do respect you thoroughly, right? I respect you, love your energy, love what you have helped me do. This is the least I could do, is to come outside my comfort zone a little bit and, pay it forward, give back to you a little bit of what you have given to me.
Thank you. Isn't Jeanette exactly who you needed to hear from today? There's so much wisdom in what she said about how to face adversity. Jeanette shared so many helpful lessons and insights, and one that has stuck with me is her advice to seek wisdom when you've experienced setbacks. It seems obvious, doesn't it? Yet few of us do. We let our egos run the show. We say, no biggie, I got it. But we don't got it. Or we do things that often make a bad situation worse. For me, that means pouring myself a glass or 10 of red wine. All I do is get a headache, feel sorry for myself, and I'm no better off than I was before. Seeking wisdom requires humbleness. We recognize that we need help, and we're willing to ask for it, willing to listen to that wisdom, willing to apply that wisdom. It's one thing to ask for wisdom, but we also need to learn how to embody wisdom, how we think, navigate our next moves, and carry ourselves. That's why I call upon my expanders to help guide my path. Expanders are people who expand your vision for who you might become. Expanders embody the very best traits and attributes you seek for yourself. When you have expanders to model, you have a playbook on how to think, move, and speak, so you can get unstuck, so you overcome setbacks, so you avoid repeating whatever mistakes that got you stuck or set back in the first place. Expanders are people who are wiser than you about certain things, like money, handling responsibility, handling pressure, even handling abundance. Think about the people you admire. They can be people you know or don't know, like the people that history books are written about. Come up with your list of expanders. You can't have too many. Jeanette is actually one of my expanders. I've seen her in action. I've seen her when decisive and strong leadership is essential. And when I'm in a pickle and I need to operate with decisiveness and conviction, I think of Jeanette and I try to embody her moves, her energy, her decisiveness. Quincy Jones is another expander of mine. Quincy is a genius and he's composed and produced some of the greatest music of all time. He produced Thriller. Quincy has an elegant way of navigating challenges. He said, I don't have problems, I have puzzles. So when I need to put on my thinking cap and navigate an issue, I think of Quincy and I try to embody his wisdom in problem solving. Who are your expanders? Who do you want to embody? Seek their wisdom, either by asking them or studying them. Then embody them in how you think, act, and speak. If you're struggling with being confident or persuasive, choose an expander who models the kind of charisma you want and embody their moves. If you feel like you just can't get out of your own way, that you never stay on the straight and narrow path to success, choose an expander who represents discipline, sacrifice, resolve. As Jeanette says, seek wisdom. That means asking people smarter than you on the topic for advice. Seeking wisdom also means embodying the characteristics of people who have handled challenges and setbacks with dignity, purpose, and resolve, aka your expanders. Now it's your turn. Come up with a list of your expanders, people for whom you can learn and embody their wisdom, and how they think, and how they act, and how they carry themselves. This week, reflect on 3 of your expanders. Ask yourself, what can I learn from these people? How can I apply their wisdom to my current life challenges and setbacks? As the saying goes, success leaves clues. Pick up those clues by identifying your expanders, the people for whom you can learn and embody their wisdom. And as you go into those tough moments in your day, lean on those expanders. What is it about what they know and do you can learn from and embody? Your expanders point the way out of your setback to better days ahead. And most importantly, to the next best version of you. The Business of Being is a production of Band of Misfits, the coaching company for leaders and impact makers who want success and fulfillment in their careers and lives. Come say hello at welcomemisfit.com. And while you're there, grab your copy of Misfits Microdoses, our email with drops of inspiration and insights to help you navigate your business life journey.
The show's executive producer is me, Sir Isaac Smith. We want this show to help as many people as possible on their business life journey. Would you help spread the word? Share this episode with a friend on social media, and please leave us a review. Every little bit helps.
Absolutely. And Sir Isaac, if you recall on our podcast episode with Sarah Elkins on Better Boundaries, so many nuggets. So by the way, listeners, if you haven't heard that episode on Better Boundaries, check it out. She's fabulous. But Sir Isaac, you may recall, she talked about this exercise that she does where she invites people to say or to identify what are the 3 words that they wish people would use to describe about themselves. So I'm curious, what are the 3 words that you would want others to describe you?
I've thought about this a good bit since her episode, and I keep changing them, but I've been able to actually narrow it down in my own thought process. Is I definitely want to be known for being efficient, effective even. Those 2 are kind of the same thing, I suppose, but I also want to be excellent. And specifically excellent in my craft. Now, I don't know what that word is per se, but I know it is just excellent in that regard. But I'd say above even both of those is I'd like to be known as a godly man, so godly. So much of my goals and aspirations go back to my faith that it's something I want to make sure that whether people agree with me or not, it's at least a word they can use to describe me with confidence.
No, I resonate with that. And I think that I would encourage anybody, whether you have a faith in a God or a deity, or simply have a connection to a higher purpose or a higher power or higher spiritual belief, whether it fits in any of those boxes or not. One of the great joys and blessings of having that connection with something greater than you is that it invites you to become greater yourself because you have something to aspire to be, to ascend, and to challenge the stubborn human instincts that we all have to maybe not be quite as godly. So I love that. So you said you had 3 E words. Can I share mine? They start with different letters though. Is that
No,
okay?
no, that's fine. Let's hear them. I'm actually really curious. Yeah.
Well, okay. I want to put a little twist to Sarah's wonderful exercise. Because for me, I thought, okay, I'll hear my 3 words. And then I realized, well, could I come up with another word, like maybe one of the 3 that might kind of come across as egotistical, but it's not? In other words, I think we all kind of hide back how we really want to be seen. So I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to put it out there and maybe the joke will be on me. But first word, loving. I want people to know me as a loving human being and to aspire to always be in that loving state, no matter what. And sometimes there are people in my life who really challenge my ability to be in that loving state. Second word I would say is present. To really be here in the moment with other people, with myself, with my environment. It's a constant retrieval process for me to just be here now. So those are first 2 words. And then that third word that I'm just going to throw out there, I would like to be known as brilliant. Okay, I'm already feeling the hate mail from the podcast listeners on that. Like, brilliant. What? Oh, this egomaniac, this blowhard. But much like you talked about being excellent. What I do with people and what I do with misfits, I want it to be work that matters. And I think a sense of brilliance, a sense of insight, a sense of going to a new place. I can't say I'm brilliant every day, or rarely maybe. I mean, that'll be for others to judge, but at least I can aspire to that. If in fact that this exercise that Sarah taught, I think that's part of the contribution, is to aspire to. On that note, why don't you take us home, Sir Isaac?
For show notes, links, and behind-the-scenes shenanigans, visit welcomemisfit.com and click podcast. Until then, don't fit in, stand out.